Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Jeremy Wilson. He's the Chief Technology Officer for North America Public Sector at EDB. Jeremy, good to have you with us.
Nice to meet you. Likewise.
And tell us a little bit about EDB, what you do and where you fit in the market here.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, the way I like to kind of explain what EDB is, who we are, what we do, is think of us as the Red Hat, of Postgres. Essentially, the name Red Hat is synonymous with Linux. We are the world's largest Postgres-focused company. So we build Postgres databases to include transactional, analytical, and AI workloads. We can provide extensive extensibility and observability into your data estate, data warehouses, data lakehouses, on-prem and in the cloud.
Okay, and so speaking of the open source world that you just referred to, why do you think government agencies struggle to implement open source security, and especially when they're trying to follow this whole zero trust idea?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of legacy process, a lot of legacy systems. There's a lack of expertise. There's regulatory compliance challenges, resource constraints. I mean, that's one of the areas that we really pride ourselves on is from a regulatory standpoint, some of the metrics and requirements that we meet as a company and the product meets. So, but I would say organizationally, that's been historically the main challenges that I've observed.
And the debate goes back and forth that about security concerns. Some people say, well, open source is more secure because everybody knows what's going on and can contribute to continuing to make it stronger. Whereas proprietary, might be harder to unlock and so forth. Nobody has the source code. Are there security concerns about open source technology now?
I think there always will be, to some degree, security concerns. I mean, the great thing about open source is, you've got a worldwide community, a worldwide audience that's really, inspecting the source code, and it goes on, obviously, around the clock. So with that, you've got typically fewer issues, fewer bugs that exist, and the ones that are can be, remediated super fast because of that worldwide audience. We have different tools that we provide to help that process, help the customers in that process, from an automation standpoint, the inspection of the code, discovery of vulnerabilities and things like that to make sure they get remediated quickly.
Yes, because some of the big breaches, I guess, have occurred with proprietary products in recent
Mhm.
years where you can't see the source code. So maybe open source, even though everybody has access to it, that in itself is the security strength because you can examine it before deploying it to make sure there's no flaws or something inserted there that should not be.
Yeah, and if I could add one more thing, I mean, one of the things that we do is we provide a secure software bill of materials to let our customers know, where the code is coming from, where the point of origin, and everything that we do along the way in our development, or essentially our DevSecOps process.
All right, tell us more about EDB database products, the offerings that you have, and the security measures you have built around them.
Yeah, so essentially, we've got a suite of products. At the core, it's a Postgres database. We have a kind of a standard offering, which is how we support the community. I think I mentioned a few minutes ago that we're the world's largest singularly focused Postgres company. So with the Postgres open source community, you have core contributors. We've got three of those individuals, or three of seven on staff at EDB. So we've essentially taken that, as I kind of used the Red Hat analogy earlier, that the open source version of Postgres, and we built an enterprise model, an enterprise wrapper, if you will, to include things such as improvement of scalability, security being the big one, performance, and so forth. Some of the things that we've done specifically around security is implement things like role-based access control, transparent data encryption. We adhere to the Federal Information Processing Standard, FIPS 140-3. As well as of the DISA STIGs. So we've hardened the environment. So we have a functional STIG for our database.
And just a quick diversion, if you would, a quick summary and tutorial on Postgres databases. What is it? What are its characteristics? And what are some of the use cases for it?
Yeah, good question. Obviously think of Oracle. Oracle's the big vendor of database technology. Postgres SQL, SQL, structured query language, has been around for a number of years. started out of UC Berkeley. It is the largest and most popular open source database. So when I talk about kind of what EDB has done with Postgres SQL, we've taken that core community open source database and we've built an enterprise model around that to include, security enhancements, performance enhancements, scalability, and so forth. So that's kind of where Postgres fits in the database world. It is the open source competitor, if you will, to Oracle.
Got it. And what are some of the modern architecture ways of these types of Postgres databases, especially in the age when people are running large scale databases right in memory?
Yeah, no, great question. So the nice thing about what we've done with our enterprise offering and the enterprise offering of Postgres is we've really built it in a way that it can be deployed in pretty much any deployment model. So whether it's on premise, it's in a private cloud, a public cloud, all of the major hyperscalers and cloud service providers, bare metal, and a hypervisor, Kubernetes. We can pretty much we have a completely open, transparent deployment model. So we've got many different ways that the product can be deployed.
Okay. And tell us more about your ideas on security and compliance, especially in regulated types of environments such as you encounter in government.
Yeah, good question. I think that's one of the things that we really have spent a lot of time focusing on at EDB is really ensuring that um, security is really rooted at the core of our DevSecOps process. And when we're building product to meet certain releases, whether it's quarterly, annually, we do follow the release cycle of Postgres, which is released in the fall. We follow up with our version following that. Um, but we had really taken into consideration to ensure that we adhere to the regulatory requirements for public sector and the federal government, because we have to make sure that our FIPS libraries are updated and validated. We have to make sure that our disastigs are up to date. We are going through a FedRAMP process right now, so we are in process for FedRAMP High. We are also working to achieve a impact level 5 baseline with DISA. So we have a lot of things from a federal regulatory standpoint that we're really doing to help, not only improve Postgres, but certainly make the government customers more secure.
And in recent years, people have shifted thinking, and now what you hear pretty much everybody in this field say is it is the data that we're trying to ultimately protect, even though the network protection is the route to the data. So it sounds like you have taken the position and the product position that should someone get to the database by breaching the network and the firewalls and the rest of it, they still can't get much because the data itself is protected at the database level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got operating system level security that you can certainly leverage. One of the nice things about we do a lot of work with Red Hat is you can enable in enterprise Linux, you can enable security enhanced Linux, turn on additional security mechanisms, protection profiles, encryption mechanisms. So you can do that at the operating system level itself. But to your point, Tom, we've kind of went that additional step and incorporated things like transparent data encryption into the Postgres offering, as well as column level encryption, data redaction. The list goes on. But we've really kind of went above and beyond the OS level.
And maybe tell us a little bit in more detail about your encryption methodology.
Yeah, so on top of the OS level encryption that we talked about, we do provide transparent data encryption, which is applied directly at the database level. And we provide column level encryption, which is something done strictly within the columns of the database itself. So, and there's other various methods of encryption that we can adhere to from a requirement standpoint. But that is the main two core areas of encryption that we provide above OS level encryption.
Well, it sounds like when you add all of this up, that open source technology does meet federal compliance and security standards, even in the age of, the commercial mandate reinforcement.
Mhm. Absolutely, 100%. That's the thing for us right now. We're seeing a lot of agencies and organizations that's really pushing zero trust as they should. And what we provide is a foundational platform, really ripe and ready for the zero trust model, the zero trust pillar. We've got a lot of customers, government customers that's coming to us that wants to adopt open source. We're a significant cost savings from a cost saving standpoint versus some of the big box vendors. And a lot of that is not only just cost, it's security. It's what we've done from a security standpoint what we adhere to. We've really, stepped up, from a competitive standpoint and ensure that we can meet what's required.
And what are some other security measures agencies, organizations can take to maybe augment this whole security posture once they've acquired a product such as EDBs, which is inherently secure and encrypted?
Yeah, so I mean, outside of the encryption and what we do from a security standpoint, obviously, I talked about the OS level security. That I would start there. From a perspective of kind of where do you start? If you look at the security landscape, there's so many different facets, to that landscape, right? So, we've taken the database and done our due diligence to ensure that we meet those requirements, and our customers can be, guaranteed and peace of mind that we're, as the largest Postgres company in the world, really focused and dialed in on that. But organizationally, outside of the database, to my point earlier, I would start with at the OS level to ensure that role-based access control is implemented and enforced, proper levels of encryption. Like I said, if you're running on a Linux platform, SC Linux and running, obviously being enforced is something they can certainly do. So there's many other things like that. In addition to other zero trust, technologies, identity and access control management, DLP, things like that can all be incorporated to ensure a safe and secure environment.
And just as an aside, if someone were to switch to EDB, then the applications they have, the application programming interfaces from their applications to databases, and also the techniques their developers or their contracted developers use to build and enhance applications, all that knowledge and technology would be preserved.
Absolutely. I mean, we're Postgres is at the forefront of essentially the open source movement, of course, but really surpassing, coming out of open source into the mainstream adoption for public agencies and organizations, and that experience that you're talking about coming from another platform, we make that experience seamless for the user. So the applications, the transition is easy to the end user, as well as we've really simplified the overall administration of the back end system itself, the actual, back end architecture, some of the back end tooling, to make that experience seamless for the user.
And for those users that have hybrid environments of both their own data centers and clouds, you can play in that kind of hybrid world also.
Absolutely. We have customers running our technology, on premise. Because if you think about the line of business that we're in, and specifically for me in public sector, we have a lot of government agencies that has not been willing to give up their data and put it in someone else's cloud. They want to retain their rights, their sovereign data. They want to retain that data on their infrastructure, inside their infrastructure. So we certainly have customers that have those requirements, and we support that, having an on-premise model. But we have customers that do have flexible workloads that they can migrate to the cloud, and we certainly support that as well. We have customers running in a Kubernetes on the Kubernetes platform. We certainly support that. But yes, pretty much any deployment model we can support that, Tom, and are doing so every day.
And let's talk about EDB's Postgres in the zero trust area.
I mean, I think I touched on it a few minutes ago. We really provide I guess you could call it a foundational model or foundational platform that's secure and auditable. And that API that we have built into our product can be tied into many other zero trust components. I think I mentioned identity and access management, DLP. There's other data management and application network security tools. And the nice thing about it is we can kind of bring all that together. We have a way of implementing our technology to kind of give you observability of that entire data estate. So that's one of the things we do nicely, is kind of bring all that together.
Yeah, observability is what you hear a lot of these days, that need to be able to understand, not miss anything in the environment. It's kind of
Exactly.
beyond visibility, you might say.
Yeah, observability, and also, what we can do is, whether it's a data lake, data estate, or whatever type of data estate you have, data warehouse, we've got that observability and management. Also, more importantly, to be able to not only observe, but to respond quickly to remediate issues, problems, fine tune, whether it's performance related, et cetera, but have that entire view into your entire state.
So it sounds like the Postgres that you offer enhances zero trust and not, it does more than simply fit into it.
Absolutely. Like I said, it provides a what I like to call a foundational platform. It's essentially, where everything is kind of, your data is where everything starts essentially. And we provide that platform with an open API. We can certainly work with, almost any other, zero trust component. So we absolutely do augment and enhance.
And while we have you, just a brief description of how you go to market in federal market. How do people obtain the EDB Postgres?
Yeah, so we can sell direct to the customer. We also sell directly through Carousel. They hold our GSA schedule, and we have a complete, channel and partner team on standby, ready to support you. We attend most of the large industry events, so you can certainly, see us there, participating at industry events, and our website, of course.
All right, sounds great. We want to thank our guest. Jeremy Wilson is the Chief Technology Officer for North America Public Sector at EDB. Jeremy, great having you with us.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Tom Temin. You're watching Federal News Network.